everybody? Payneblade back here again from Server 1 representing ISC. Guys, welcome back to part 2 of the reviewing of every single shinobi type out there to give you guys an idea if these shinobis are worth leveling, where they can be used, and if they're worth your time and resources. So let's start off what we did last time, and we're going to start with the rare units. Okay, now there are no new rare units in this game. We're hoping that does change. It'd be awesome to see Bandai implement some brand new type R characters in it, especially with the power creep numbers. That'd be really cool to see. Plus, it'll help people boost their speed a little more. But the ones we have right now, there are only 3, maybe 4 you want to focus on, and I'll tell you which ones they are. Okay, so first off, Konohamaru and Shino. Once you get to a certain point, these rares become useless, so you kind of avoid using them because you start going into the SR category, alright? But there are about 4 units that you still want to focus on. So Choji being one of them. As you can see, mine's low level, but he's good enough for what he needs to do. Now, Choji's being used specifically for places such as ATB and the Abyss in order to build up your tribe gauge. Realistically, that is his biggest thing as a rare unit. He helps you build tribes, the tribe gauge itself, and honestly, like in terms of where you want to use him, like I mentioned, ATB is a big one if you don't have Jiraiya or Blossom, as well as places like the Abyss if you want to use him as a fodder team in order to build that tribe gauge quicker because of his skill 2 and his main skill. So Choji, definitely somebody you want to put a little bit of time into. Teaisnt. Teaisnt is another unit you definitely want to focus on. Now, she has an AoE stun as one of your only rare units that does that. She has a attack up and damage increase rate up with her limit break 2, and also has guard suppression, one of the only units in the game that have guard suppression. There's only a few handful of others, maybe even less than a handful now, so definitely worth your time and effort. She can also be used in tandem with other characters that do the same kind of buffs in order to stack those buffs and do really well in places like FG, so Flashback Genealogy, also places like Abyss, and she could also be used in places like Alliance Team Battle if you're lacking other units with those similar buffs. So honestly, an all-around great character, even in Arena and NWT. So Teaisnt is probably one of the top rares in the game. Next one over we're going to talk about is Mitsuki. Now Mitsuki has a stun for a skill 2, just like UR Heavy does. Mitsuki does Heavy Wound, which is a 100% status effect. So a couple bonuses there. Also has attack down and defense down. The thing that kind of makes Mitsuki worthwhile though more than anything else is the new Team 7 tribe that he's involved in. So you can use that tribe in Flashback Genealogy, you can use it in Abyss, you can use it in ATB. Currently in ATB it's actually the feature tribe for the free-to-play players, so really worth getting that unit up just for that alone. So definitely highly recommend these 3 here for sure. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the main rare unit in the game, the one that everyone should be getting up for sure, and that is going to be Kiba. Kiba is one of the only 3 now. There used to only be 2 instant jutsu characters, so you can start off your jutsu right from the start of the match as long as you have your level 1 vitality maxed out. Also has incredible buffs and chakra up, and does great damage for an R unit. So a lot of new players, Kiba will be your go-to damage dealer from the get-go if you don't pull a power creep unit. So guys, veterans and new players alike still use this character. Highly recommend. If you're new, this is the only rare you want to really put a lot of your resources in, but he will eventually be phased out. But really good in Arena and NWT as well too as a brand new player because of that whole instant jutsu aspect. Alright, so let's talk about SRs now. We're going to go through each one line by line and kind of talk to you about where they're good and where they're not good. So Zabuza, actually really not a really good unit, but a decent unit for DPS. So it can be pretty much used in any content that requires an A unit damage dealer, but will be overshadowed and bypassed very quickly. So the amount of effort it takes to kind of get Zabuza up in terms of his actual utility, you probably don't want to focus too much on him. All right, same thing with Hiruzen. You know, decent unit, has a couple of gimmicky mechanics, and is really not used anywhere else outside of maybe Arena and maybe Abyss if you're looking to drop the units, the enemy's chakra down before you die. So really a death kind of character. Nothing outside of that really he brings to the table. All right, Mama Sakura D unit, decent tank, decent healer. She does do decent buffs as well too, but overall overshadowed quite a bit by the other Sakura versions, especially Mama Sakura T version, the original Mama Sakura. So not too much focus on her unless you're looking for someone that's decent for Abyss that can help you out a little bit in terms of the healing department and buffing and debuffing. She's not bad, but definitely T Mama version is much better. All right, Orochimaru. Now we know he's a power creep unit. Unfortunately with Orochimaru, they just keep shafting him over. He has decent buffs and debuffs, but the problem is he's all over the place in terms of who he applies it to. Sometimes he applies it to all enemies, sometimes he applies it to the 3-man cell, sometimes he applies it to active allies. So It's just way too much all over the place. Even though the buffs and debuffs are pretty decent, he just doesn't have utility that's worthwhile holding on to, because there are other people that do what he does, but a lot better. So don't recommend putting effort into him at all. Oniki, for new players, really good damage dealer. You guys know the infamous, where's the Oniki showcase? It will happen eventually when Madara comes out. I made a promise on that. But yeah, Oniki is one of those characters where you can, as a brand new player especially, can utilize pretty quickly. He does do really good damage. He does crit up on himself. He's a very selfish character, which is one of the biggest problems with him. But if you're looking for a decent nuke for an SR, he's actually going to be your go-to for the very beginning, and then you'll eventually replace him with a UR. But Oniki can pretty much be used in any content, including Arena, NWT, Abyss, ATB, etc. ATB, I don't recommend him quite as much unless you don't have a choice, because again, he's a selfish character. And ATB, you really want to focus on characters who give buffs to the tribe you're planning to use. So he's probably biggest weakness will be ATB, but everywhere else, he's not too bad. All right, Konkoro, very, very under-leveled for me, but it should be leveled up higher for brand new characters. I use him on my Painful Experience account, which of course was given away, so that's why you guys aren't seeing it anymore. But Konkoro is really good for defense down and damage reduction rate down on all opponents. So very good unit. Remember, you don't actually have to kill with him. As long as you do your Jitsu and someone else kills on that round, you'll actually end up getting the debuffs on the enemy. So highly recommend getting Konkoro up as a brand new player. He's actually still pretty good even mid-level, so not too bad. Alright, so Browser Naruto, we used to hate on him a lot until this anniversary event. Now he can be 7-starred, so he's actually not too bad. So if you're looking for a decent tank, especially one that can do the 3 Hokage, the Fist of the Hokage, especially with the Kid Naruto and regular SR Naruto or UR Naruto, this is actually a really good unit now to get up, just for that tribe alone, because it stuns, it does really good damage, and he is a selfish tank, but he's actually not a bad tank overall. The only thing he lacks here, in the terms of the SR versus the UR version, is he misses his healing. He doesn't have that heal on his Jutsu. So not a bad unit now. Highly recommend getting him up if you're brand new. You actually will take advantage. Remember, you have to log in to the browser version in order to get his free 3-star version. So make sure, guys, if you're playing this game, jump on the browser real quick, get him first, save that account if you like it, and then move over to mobile, and you can actually start leveling him up there. All right, so Conan. Conan's decent damage reduction rate debuffer, does AoE as well too. So she's very mid tier, I'd say maybe even a little bit low tier. But what she does bring to you is access to all the Akatsuki 3-man tribes. So she does become pretty pertinent if you don't have Pain to activate those tribes. So with that alone, she's great. She's good for Abyss. She's good for FG. So not FG. She's good for Abyss, and she's good for ATB if you plan to use the Akatsuki tribe. Alright, only if you plan to use the Akatsuki tribe. Outside of that, guys, she really has no utility in use. I would personally avoid her. Leave her at level 1 if you really want, unless you want to stack the Akatsuki tribe and you want to keep doing it, then get her up, only if you don't have Pain. But she's also a good backup even if you do have Pain, because if you have the other Akatsuki members, you can do other Akatsuki tribes if your units die and you have to do another a cleanup squad for the Abyss, for example. So not bad for Abyss. Outside of that, everywhere else she's kind of mediocre. Alright, Revenge Sasuke, not a bad unit. Was the first single target power creep SR unit that came out. Has 5k vitality, so with Sai, and now with the new kit Sasuke, if you're around level 89 I think, or 88, you can actually do instant jutsu with him. So in regards to his utility, good damage dealer overall. If you're a brand new player, he's going to do a lot of work for you, and he's going to do a lot of damage for you. So really highly recommend getting him up. If you are a new player, for veterans, it's completely up to you. If you're lacking the instant jutsu aspect for a DPS, he's not bad, but overall you'll probably have somebody better that can line up and take over his spot. Okay, so Tamari. Tamari is a okay buffer for A units. She does go in tandem with 10-10, and they call it the 10-10 Tamari buffing strat. So she's decent for FG if you're looking for the attack strat for the A units, and she's okay for places like Abyss because of her heavy wound, which stops healers from healing. But overall, she's a very mediocre character. Wouldn't really put too much work into her. Sakura Harano, not a bad character for places like Tower of Eternity and Abyss. If you're looking for defense up and healing and a little bit of chakra, she's actually pretty decent to work on. SR Naruto, highly recommend, guys, getting him maxed out. And the reason why I'm saying this now is because he now I think has about 7 or 8 different tribes that he can do. So the UR version can replace him, K-Scam can replace him, and this is the other version. So if you have all 3, you can actually run 3 tribes using all 3 of those Naruto characters. So definitely get him up. Overall, a very good character, very hybrid, good tank, good damage, and has a lot of selfish utility, but he gets the job done. All right, so Yamato, one of your first 7-star tanks as long as you do item summons. So make sure you do item summons, guys. You can get him to 7 real quick. Very good for crit suppression, good for guard rate. Overall, one of the best starting tanks in the game and one of the easiest ones to get up. So highly recommend for new players, especially get him up. Veteran players, you probably won't use him outside of maybe a cleanup squad in Abyss, but that's about it. Sasori, pretty useless outside of his tribe, guys. He does do chakra down, he does do poison, and he does do defense down if he dies. Again, not the greatest character. He is gimmicky like Hiruzen, so would avoid him, but definitely use him for the Data tribe for the 3-man one. Alright, Berserk Naruto, mediocre DPS. Highly would recommend skipping him. He does have a pretty good tribe though with Kamui and Sakura, so if you are planning to use that tribe, you do need to get him up. He's not bad overall. Let's just go with that, alright? So Sarada, really good buffer and debuffer on D units, part of the new Team 7 tribe, so highly recommend getting her up for that tribe alone. And then if you do need a nuke or a buffer, she's not bad against D units, especially D units actually, and she's a really good buffer. So really good starter character, and also veterans use her for that new Team 7 tribe. Sorry about that, guys. Kabuto, overall okay. Decent off healer, really good and shines if you have him with someone who can do status effects. So he's a little bit of a damage dealer in that regard, but only if there are status effects in place. He does do defense down and damage increase rate down on D units, so he is a D unit nuke. So if you're fighting a heavy D unit team, if you're a brand new player, Kabuto will get the job done for you. Outside of that though, not highly used anymore. Orochimaru, really good in places like NWT and PvP because of his silence. It's at 60%, and pretty good for Abyss too, but that's as far as it goes. Really good tank, good debuffer, still one of the best Orochimaru versions out there, probably the best Orochimaru version out there. So if you have him, guys, and you want to level him up, not a bad investment, to be honest. Okay, so Asuma, very good guard rate tank. He's a survivor for sure. He'll pretty much boost your guard rate and damage reduction rate up, but I've said this before, he's only a little more selfish than the rest of the characters because he gives himself guard rate in one of his traits rather than giving it to everybody else. So, but overall, still a very good team player, very good tank. So if you have him, guys, and you like Shikamaru and you're a big fan of Asuma's, worth leveling up for sure. Hinata, good starter damage dealer, best crit damage percentages in the game and crit rate damages in the game as a self buffer, but she falls off very quickly high level game, but mid level to low level she's still not bad. Alright, Kakazu, one of the best AoE damage dealers in the game, also can be part of an Akatsuki tribe, can be used pretty much anywhere, but again has been overshadowed by a lot of new power creep AoE characters. But if you're lacking people like Naruto Rinne or Sasori or Sublime, he's not a bad investment if you need an AoE damage dealer for sure. Alright, so Neji is one of the only A units that can bring you chakra up and also crit damage for the cell. So a decent, I'll say above decent. We'll say above decent support unit. Can be used pretty much in any piece of content, but has his limitation because of how he buffs and who he buffs. So great nuke, decent buffer, one of the better support units for A units for sure. So if you have him and you're a fan of Neji, level him up. Even if you're not a fan of Neji and you need a support unit that can nuke, Neji's a good choice. Alright, so Kisame. Kisame has probably the best Akatsuki tribe in the game with Itachi and Pain or Conan, with Chakra down, DIR up for you, and Chakra up for you. Overall, actually not a bad unit for the Abyss, strictly for the Abyss, because he does do Chakra down on the opponents, which can help you survive Jutsus, and also does damage increase rate down and damage reduction rate down. So overall, not a bad unit to use if you need a good tank with chakra down abilities and debuffs. So Kisame, not bad for the Akatsuki tribe and what I just mentioned. Alright, SR Heavy, guys, free to play unit. When you log in, you're going to get the missions to start and get him. He's actually a really good unit for new players. Has a stun ability, has the ability for status effect rate up, which increases stuns, burns, poisons, paralyzes, etc. Does a ton of guard rate, and overall just a really good tank and a stunner himself. So really good unit, guys. Definitely put a little bit of focus on him, but I will tell you this, end game he does fall off and cannot be used in places like ATB, but pretty much places like Abyss, or sorry, NFG, but places like Abyss, PvP, highly recommend getting him up for you, especially if you plan to use him in the long run. All right, SR Boruto, again, part of new Team 7, so really good unit. Still an amazing nuke for what he is as an OG character. So pretty much can be used in any piece of content. Where he lacks the most is probably ATB and Abyss, but everywhere else he's pretty damn good. So a little bit of a glass cannon, but if you put a little focus onto his talismans and HP and a little bit of defense and put him with the right units, he can do a lot of damage for you, and he also provides attack up for the cell, so really good for that too. Shikamaru, extremely important for PvE especially, so has the highest damage rate reduction down on a jutsu of any character for 1 turn. Very recommended for ATB and Abyss and FG as well too. So if you have Shika, you don't need to actually max him out. All you really need to focus on is getting his skill 4 up, which is his trait that gives T units more attack for the rest of the battle, and also most importantly his skill 1, which does the damage rate reduction based on the level, and also does a Shadow Stitch stun, which can set up for other multiple different combos like Daedalus, defense down, etc. So really recommend getting him up, but don't worry about maxing him out. He's not there for damage, he's just there to do those 2 specific things. All right, Guy's a decent tank. I mean, not necessarily really required. Can be used in PvP mostly, and Abyss as a backup tank if you need, but overall he's okay, he's not bad. Okay, so Gaara T, really good buffer. I highly recommend as one of the top SRs to get him up after you get Sai up, of course, Sai being the #1 character you should be focusing on, and we'll talk about him soon. But his trait 4 specifically gives damage increase rate if you're faster than your opponent, or gives you damage reduction rate if you're slower than your opponent. So great for PvP, great for PvE. Overall a stellar character. Does also attack up and guard rate up on his skill 2, and his jutsu does the attack up. So overall highly recommend getting him up as an SR, probably one of the best in the game. Rock Lee for a damage dealer has kind of dropped off a lot. He's really fast as a character, which is good. So if you need a speedy character for PvP, he's not bad. But I use him as a backup if I ever need to for things like Abyss, right? But never going to be using FG. But as a brand new character, he might be your only go-to DPS, so he's not bad. He does require to lose a lot of HP to see his maximum potential, so that's kind of his downfall there. Alright, so Nade, good chakra battery, good healer. Overall, probably the best healer in the game at the moment, outside of maybe Blossom. So if you need a healer, guys, for Tower of Eternity, or overall if you need a chakra battery for, like, let's say FG and stuff, highly recommend getting her up. She is also part of the legendary Shiney tribe, which is good for Abyss, but chances are you won't be using that as much anymore because Jiraiya now fits in with Bonded by Rasen. But again, if those are the only units you have, really good tribe to use, and offers a stun with a slew of other debuffs, so not a bad unit to focus on. Alright, Haku. Haku is a unit that is required in some content, especially as a free-to-play player. You will be using Haku for his buffs and his damage, especially his attack up buffs and his debuffs to T units. So he does defense down and damage reduction rate down on T units. So highly recommend using him in places like FG, Abyss, and PvP. PvP he's limited, of course, depending on who you're fighting and what units they have. But overall, Haku should be used in PvE pretty often. Can also be used in ATB as a brand new player for his attack up for A units. So again, really good character, good SR, and one of the OG SRs. Alright, now on to the most important SR in the game, and that is Sai, maybe the most important character in the game. Sai is special in many regards because #1, he has a couple attack up bonuses to the cell and all allies, and at the same time he has the one thing that everybody needs, and that is chakra every single turn, no matter if he's in the rotation or not. So Sai is hands down the most important character in the game and should be focused on above everybody else that you have on your roster. The way to get him, guys, a lot of people are asking, is you go into the Shinobi Exchange Shop, buy his 1-star version at 500 Shinobi Exchange coins, and then focus all your arena coins and your SR fragments to getting him maxed out to 6, and then get his limit break 2. Sai is just too good, guys, to pass up. Alright, Toby has moved up a lot. He's now pretty much important in every piece of content. He does the best damage rate reduction combination in the game to all D units. He also has a skill 2 that does damage rate reduction to any opponent that he hits, and it has also his limit break 2 does damage rate reduction if he is active in that turn. Also has a great stun and a burn. So overall, a highly recommended character. I'd say Toby, Sai, Gaara, and Kid Kakashi are probably the best SRs to focus on, as well as Naruto Kage SR. So Darui, alright, Darui is really good. Darui brings a lot of DPS to you as a D unit, and also gives you a lot of buffs for D units as well too, and all allies. So Darui, highly recommend getting him up, especially if you're planning to use the Ultimate Cloud combo, which is the best A nuke against A units. It does 65% more damage on A units, and he's part of that trio. So definitely get him up if you have him, guys. He'll do a lot of magic for your D units, as well as that cloud combo, which can nuke A units really well. Can be pretty much used in any piece of content. So overall, Darwi, highly recommend getting him up as well. Remember though, the only way to get him is through the Tower of Eternity shop. Is that right? Yeah, Tower of Eternity shop, that's right. So you cannot summon for him. Okay, so same thing with Sai. Use 500 coins, get him from the 1-star shop, use your Tower of Eternity coins to get him up. Blossom, probably the best healer in the game, also a very good tribe gauge increase character. Does good buffs, mainly there to increase your tribe gauge and give you some heals, but overall can be used in any content, including ATB, FG, Abyss. FG she doesn't do very well because you don't really need the tribe gauge, but if you're missing Jiraiya, she's a good sub in. ATB, Abyss, FG, PvP, Arena, and NWT. So overall, a really stellar character. Highly recommend getting Blossom up if you have her. Alright, so Getsu, great tank, like really good tank. Hits like a wet noodle, and that's been the joke for the longest time. But if you're planning to use Commander of the Heavy for the Abyss, which is where he really shines, or PvP, this character is worth getting up because his buffs are stellar and they're phenomenal to keep your units alive. So we used to call him Mini Garo for a reason. He's just overall a really good SR. So definitely focus on him. All right, my favorite SR in the game right now, RoKage for aesthetics and his kit. You know, for at least for me, he's not the best kit in the game for an SR, obviously, because Sai is better, Kakashi and Gaara T are a little better, but I personally love him for the damage that he dishes out, plus the way he looks. So no matter what anybody says, he's always going to be one of your top DPS if you're a brand new player. Just overall gives you great buffs for A units and overall units in general, with his Jutsu with attack up, and his LB2 is fantastic. So definitely get him up if you have him, guys. He's going to do a ton of damage for you. Alright, Mama Sakura, this is the one I was talking about. So Mama Sakura still sits as one of the best SR characters in the game. AoE stun, attack down, heal, damage increase rate up, you name it. She does pretty much everything you need her to do, and also survives quite a bit with her own stats. So part of the Connected Feelings tribe, which is the main tribe for ATB. If you have her, 100% get her up. If you don't have her, focus on trying to get her. She will do a lot of magic for you in every piece of content. Where she kind of isn't used very much is FG, but everywhere else she can be mained and used for quite some time, including high-end game. Alright, Kakashi, we talked about him a little bit. One of the best buffers in the game, also one of the most unique kits in the game, and also a great D unit nuke. So highly recommend getting him up. He is a power creep unit, so if you do have his fragments, get him up after Sai, or get Garo up after Sai first, and then once you get him to 6 stars, get his LB2, of course, you'll be golden. You don't need to push him to 7, but he's really good character. I love him. I use him in a lot of content. He can pretty much be used in everything, guys, because of the buffs that he provides. Alright, and the buffs require you to be faster than your opponent, so you should be working on your speed anyways. Alright, a great buffer for A units, super tanky, good DPS, has a stun, also part of the Ultimate Cloud combo now, and other combos revolving around Mei and Oniki. So now he's becoming pretty important in terms of tribes in general, because he was a little underutilized for quite some time. But if you have him, guys, he's going to do a lot of work for you in the beginning, and if you have him in the end game, use him for those tribe specials, specifically if you're fighting A units. Primarily, he's really good in PvP content. He's going to be really lackluster in ATB, but he's good in Abyss, and he's not going to be very good in FG unless you're planning to use the Ultimate Cloud combo, in which you actually need him. Alright, same thing with Jugo. Decent tank. The only tank I know that has the ability to heal the way he does as an off healer, and heals himself. Can be pretty immortal if you guys can get him up pretty high up, and part of the Commander of the Heavy units. So highly recommend using him in Abyss, but that's as far as he goes in terms of his utility. Alright, Naruto Rinne, best damage dealing SR in the game, hands down. If you missed the Rinne festival, unfortunately, you can still get him through the anniversary if you've been collecting his fragments, but easily one of the best damage dealers in the game. SR, UR, it doesn't matter. One of the best kits in the game as well too in terms of damage. He has a AoE 100% confused, damage increase rate down, damage reduction rate down. He has insane crit. Overall, just such a good character. So if you have him, build him, guys. New or veteran players, you guys are going to be using him for a long time. I still personally do. Alright, those are the SRs, guys. Moving on to the URs. Karin, useless, troll, decent healer at best. her LB2 gives damage reduction rate up for the lowest HP unit, just overshadowed by so many other units, so I wouldn't recommend getting her up. Hidan is actually really good, really good paired with other A units, especially because he buffs A's really well, and he does really good damage on people when he has lower HP. So really good nuke tank, pretty much can be used anywhere except for probably ATB and FG, but PvP wise and in terms of Abyss, highly recommend it, and also part of the one of the Akatsuki trio tribes, right? Pain, pretty important. You know, pretty much required for all the Akatsuki if you don't have Conan, or if you do have Conan, he's good to have anyways. He's a really good buffer, does really good damage as a nuke for a T unit, and overall just a really good character. So if you have him, he's not a bad character to put focus on. I'm gonna push him to 6 and eventually get him up a little higher, but right now my resources are going elsewhere, but he will do a lot of good work for you. He really does shine at 4 stars though, guys, keep that in mind. Alright, Orochimaru, COVID Maru as we like to call him, probably the best debuffer in the game still. Now that we know that debuff stack, he's even got better utility now than before. Good chakra down character as well too. Overall, really good in Abyss. Not bad in NWT, but I wouldn't recommend him anywhere else outside of those 2 places. Alright, so don't put too much work into him. Alright, Killer B, version 1, Brotherly Bond, horrible A unit. And it sucks saying that because he has a good stun, he has guard suppression, just overall his kit is not that good, and his biggest issue though, guys, is the fact that his stats are really low. Really low for an A unit, so don't recommend getting him up even if you have him. Use him for a link bonus, and that's as far as it goes. Naruto SMN, if you're lacking D unit nukes, or sorry, T unit nukes against Ds, he's actually really good for all content that has a lot of D units, and if he's your best nuke, he'll actually do really well against D units. But outside of that, he's not a bad character. Overall, his kit's a little bit selfish here and there. He does do a couple buffs to the allies, but overall he's just there to do damage, and he doesn't do it quite as well as a lot of the other UR, so he's not bad. Mitsuki's a much better version of him with the stun, better debuffs and buffs. So Mitsuki, highly recommend getting him up if you haven't. So I've already moved on to him. Kushina, she's okay. At best, she's okay. I don't know why they keep screwing over the ladies in this game, but she's not that good. She's a decent debuffer with her Jitsu. Actually, Jitsu is really good. Her debuffs are really good. Her buffs, unfortunately, are lackluster. So, and her damage is not bad. So, I mean, if you're a really big fan of hers, get her up. But if you're not and you want to be smart about your resources, you can probably avoid her. All right, Danzo, actually another really hated character in the anime, but pretty good character in the game. Good damage dealer, great debuffer for a tank, and also takes hits and keeps coming back for more. So Danzo, if you have him, guys, even if you don't like him, if you want a really good character, especially at the 4-star level, highly recommend getting him up. Mitsuki we talked about. Data or Sublime, there's always confusion about Data, or there's always speculation of whether he's good or not. I love Data or Sublime personally. I think he's an incredible nuke, especially when you start rolling with his crits and his crit damage, and you start killing characters. He's bar none the hardest hitter in the game at that point if he starts stacking that crit damage and is with the proper other buffers. So I love Data personally. If you have him, I think you should use him. A lot of people complain the fact that he doesn't do turn 2 or 3 Jitsu, but you know what, that's just luck of the draw, and he can pretty much be used in any piece of content except for ATB. All right, May, oh man, highly top tier. Love this character. I don't know why I clicked on her. Just, I guess, just naturally what I do. So used probably for the best balance of attack buffs and defensive buffs, and also has the only debuff in the game that does 3 churn, ninjutsu, and tribe specials down, which is great against Sai, because anyone who has instant jutsu and has 2nd turn or 3rd turn jutsu, she will pretty much take away 38% of their damage from the get-go, meaning you'll survive those attacks, especially if you're slower. So May is great for the crit damage, the guard rate, and everything else, and she's a fantastic nuke for a T unit. So highly recommend getting her up, guys. If you have her, she's definitely top tier. All right, Sarada, good kit overall, a little bit overshadowed now by Naruto Rinne, but is part of the Connected Feelings tribe for ATB. So if you have her, guys, and you have Papa Sasuke and Mama Sakura, definitely focus on that, especially if you want to put focus on ATB, but that's where she shines the most. She can be pretty decent for Abyss and PvP, but again, Naruto Rinne will overshadow her. But if you don't have Rinne and you have her and you like her, definitely get her up. All right, Chio, man, oh man. Much respect for Chio. So I used to hate on this character. Then they fixed her. They made her HP scale her healing scale over HP. So you can use her pretty much anywhere, guys. You can use her for Abyss, where she does great debuffs and also gives you a great buff and heal. You can use her in FG if you're looking for a second turn T unit for nuking. She can be used. The only place she really can't be used is ATB. In PvP and Arena, she's fantastic because of her heal, which doesn't require Jitsu. Her Jitsu actually is damage dealing. So her heal is just a natural lowest HP heal, but it scales off of your max HP, which means she can heal up to 200k per turn. I've seen it happen, guys. So definitely, if you have her, guys, and you need a healer and a really good damage dealer, she's worth doing it. Kid Sasuke, oh, incredible unit. So we were lacking a chakra battery nuke outside of Sai. Right now, Kid Sasuke coming into the fold as an A unit, has a stun, has incredible buffs, and at the same time gives chakra to the cell, and has a fantastic limit break too, which is similar to Heavies and Obito's and stuff. So highly recommend getting him up if you have him. He's probably going to be one of your best characters in the roster. Even if you have better characters, he will sit there as one of your best anyways. Excuse me. So definitely get Kid Sasuke up. You can actually do instant Jitsu at level 88, I believe, with him, Sai, and for example CM2 or Jiraiya. So you pretty much built another Kakashi into the fold. So again, Kid Sasuke, highly recommended. And that brings us to Kisame. Kisame is also another chakra battery. Really good character. Very similar kits in terms of the chakra aspect of it. The only difference is Kisame takes away chakra and gives to himself. Sasuke just gives the chakra to himself, and then the 3-man cell for his 4th skill. Really good buffer, really good nuke. Overall, Kisame, a really good character. Definitely get him up if you have him. Alright, Obito, best nuke in the game for new players, hands down. Nobody does it better. His jutsu is crazy strong, has insane multipliers, has one of the highest damage rate reductions down. His crit and his attack is fantastic as well too. So Obito is an amazing character. Definitely get him up if you have him. He will be your best nuke for the longest time. Alright, Boruto T, really good character as well too. Probably the best T nuke in the game with the best buffs. And if you have him, put him together, especially with this tribe for Rasengan entrusted by father and teacher. Overall, guys, one of the best characters in the game, definitely as a nuke and buffer, so don't neglect working on him. All right, almost done here, guys. We got 5 more left. So 9 more left. Killer Bee version 2, really good tank. Was overshadowed by Kid Naruto, but he is part of the Ultimate Cloud combo. Can be used in any piece of content outside of FG and ATB. So if you have him, guys, you guys can definitely level him up and take advantage of that. In FG, though, if you do want to use him, he will be sitting with A and Darui for the Ultimate Cloud combo against A units. Papa Sasuke, still trash can Sasuke outside of the fact that he's the king of tribes. He has 2 of the best tribes in the game, which is Connected Feelings for ATB and Rasengan entrusted by father and student, which I just talked about with Boruto. Can be used pretty much in every content. So definitely get him up if you have him for the tribes specials alone. Okay, Dataro OG, still one of the most important characters for buffs. Has crit damage in his trait. Even if he dies, it will still apply. Has a stun, defense down, and is part of the Akatsuki tribe. Still one of the most important characters in the game to level up. If you have him, you need him to be 4 stars to take advantage of it. All right, so make sure you do that. Oh, there's more than 9. Sorry. Kamui has died down. Wouldn't really put any effort onto him anymore. He's kind of out of the picture now, which is unfortunate because he had some of the best buffs in the game. But now, because of all the power creeps and stuff, he's kind of being underutilized. So if you have him, don't worry too much about focusing on him. Minato, amazing nuke, amazing character, great buffer. As part of the Bonded by Rasen tribe, which is pretty much the most important tribe in the game at the moment for nuking. So definitely have him, build him, guys. Six Tails, best AoE in the game outside of Rene. Overall, just one of the strongest characters in the game in terms of his own buffs. He's very selfish, but he buffs himself every turn. So if you have him, he can be used pretty much in every content except for ATB because he is selfish. But outside of that, amazing character. Jiraiya Sage Mode, again, one of the top stellar characters in the game as a tank. Has a stun, has all the buffs you need for Abyss. NWT in Arena, where he doesn't do really well, is FG, and he doesn't do really well in ATB, but everywhere else, still one of the top characters in the game. CM2, one of the best nukes, best stunner in the game, also raises his stun percentage every single time he does a nuke. Also a really good skill too for nuking, and also gives attack up, and overall can do instant jutsu with Kid Kakashi, Tsunade, combined with Sai, any of those two with Sai, or Blossom even, I believe. So amazing character at level 88, especially with his instant jutsu. Jiraiya, great, same thing, instant jutsu as CM2. The only difference is he's the best tribe gauge character in the game, and you kind of need him for bonded by Rasen and any other tribe like the Sanin. Pretty much one of the most important tribe gauge characters in the game, especially as a nuke. So if you have him, definitely build him. You'll probably want to get him to 4 stars as soon as you can. All right, almost done here, guys. Gara, amazing nuke, has fallen off. Oh, sorry, not nuke. Amazing tank has fallen off quite a bit because of his numbers and the fact that he's an OG unit, but still can do a lot of great stuff in Arena, Abyss, and NWT. So if you have him, don't put too much focus on him. But if he's your best tank, he's not bad. But build him naturally. Do not put orbs into him. Kakashi, still the best nuke in the game in my opinion, next to KCM now, and maybe Hebi. Yeah, just overall instant jutsu, stun, he'll crit damage up on his LB2, can be used essentially in every single piece of content, and is still going to sit as the top character for damage dealing because of the fact that he has that instant jutsu. Alright, Sasori Human Puppet, incredible unit. PvP, one of the kings of PvP, can be used in Abyss for sure. FG, he's really good as well too against A units. Where he kind of lacks a little bit is in ATB. So if you have the Human Puppet though, guys, get him up. He's going to be one of your best characters for the longest time. KCM, brand new character, the newest banner, one of the best characters in the game, top tier at everything. If you have him, build him. Simple as that. Some of the best buffs in the game, some of the best nukes in the game. Overall, one of the best characters, probably the best character in the game now in terms of how broken he is. Not as important as Sai, but he's still the best character. Sai's the most important character. Alright, Itachi Uchiha, the old school one. He's a decent nuke, guys. If you're an OG character and you have him, you'll probably use him because you've built him up a lot. If you're a brand new person, you got him, you probably can neglect him. He's not going to do much for you at this point. So yeah, new players avoid him. Veteran players like myself obviously will use him because we have him built up pretty big. You are Naruto, now that people have access to him. He's just a carbon copy of SR Naruto with just better stats. So use him and build him for the different versions of tribes of Naruto you can do, and he pretty much can be used anywhere because of the tribe abilities, right? Kid Naruto, one of the probably the best tank in the game now, with some of the best buffs, easily keeps you alive longer than anybody else, and is incredibly hard to kill. Kid Naruto, you have him, build him. He will do so much work for you in every content except for probably maybe not FG and ATB, but everywhere else he's probably wouldn't be one of your best characters in the game. Itachi Uchiha Criminal was one of the top characters for every piece of content. He's kind of fallen off a little bit since May has come out, but he's still a really good character. So if you've built him and use him, good for you. If you're a brand new player and you just got him and you're like, I love Itachi, he's the best version of him right now, so still build him. Pretty much can be used in every piece of content. Itachi doesn't really have any weaknesses. He just has now May that has better buffs, that's all. Naruto Kage UR, really good for the 3-man tribe, but you can use the SR browser version. You don't need the UR version. He is part of the Annie gift boxes, so if you've leveled him up and got him up, you can at least use him for that, and he's really good at tanking, so his main function will be in Abyss and NWT, but that's as far as he goes. Lastly, we have the 2 Sasuke's. Kirin here, which is still one of the most important characters in the game, pretty much can be used in every piece of content for his debuffs and his buffs that he provides, and the fact that he has a stun, and he's a D unit nuke, and he also is part of the Commander Heavy tribe. So again, Kirin pretty much important in every piece of content. And then lastly, we have UR Heavy, which is essentially to me the equivalent of Kakashi without the instant jutsu. My best nuke in the game, and I love him personally, so if you have him, definitely build him, guys. And that brings us to the end of this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, hit me up on the comment section. Remember to check out the Instagram page, follow me there, and I'll be doing a lot more stuff on that as well too. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. This is Payne, we'll talk soon.